Hello ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Dave back here with you again. I've got a lot of questions from people and about different things, and I decided to just go over a whole lot of the little pictures that I've used to show you previous videos that I've done, and just kind of recap the important parts to see if I can't help you understand this whole thing about how Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers did all these different crazy things, from Zodiac to DB Cooper and everything else. So let's start out with some of Frank's signatures. This is a very important one. If I can get a grip on this camera. You see that? That's an L. You see that? That's an F. Frank Lee. This is an M for Morris. Okay? There's a lot more things in there, and John Anglin, whose name is John William Anglin, if you connect these dots you get an A, and if you turn this M over you get a W, so you have William Anglin, who was basically Frank's girlfriend. Well, Frank was his girlfriend. But anyway, and let's go on to something else. Here's this letter about that he sent to Sherry Bates' father. I'm just going to recap quickly. This B is a number 13 because Frank's last name, Morris, is the M, starts with M, and M is the 13th letter in the alphabet. That's an M, and it's underlined so you know how important he is. This is an E, but if he disconnects it here and draws this on the line so you can't really, that becomes an F for Frank. Now you have Frank Morris. And if we go down here, this P looks like a D. Had to die. The P has to do with paradise and some other things, I don't remember. But here's the F again. And you notice the bottom leg is pointing up. He's trying to tell you that death causes him to get pointed up in certain areas of his body. And then he says, there will, and he shows you how the R drags down and the E drags down, and there's the F for Frank, and he puts a little hook on this so you can see that it's an L for Lee. And now after the death, he has his fun, and the pointed area of his body points down instead of up. There will be more. There's that B, which is actually a number 13, signifying the 13th letter in the alphabet, which is M, and the M for Morris underlined so you know how important he is in his own wacko mind. That R is actually a number 12. 12th letter in the alphabet is L for Lee. And now he draws this E with a hook here so you see the L for Lee. This part of the E goes past this line so you know that that's actually an F underlined, so you have Frank Lee. And if you turn it this way, it's an M, so that's Morris. Now the most important thing I want you to get from this is this. That's a Zodiac signature. It looks like a Z, right? If you look up there, that's actually an M for Morris, an L for Lee. And if you draw this the same size as that, it is the astrological sign of Virgo, because Frank was a Virgo. He was born on the 1st of September 1926, I think it was. Now the next one, the Reno Gazette. He showed me this, and he was really bragging about how he got a spot above the president. Nixon was the president at the time, which made him feel all and mighty and important, and he just couldn't get over that. There's another one that I've told you before. A lot of the reasons they can't piece all these murders together is because Frank knew every single person that, well, not every single person, but he knew most of the people that he killed. And he says, right, he was showing me this, and he was reading it. He told me to read it. I read it. And he goes, read that last part. And I started over here somewhere. He said, no, start from right here. And I go, kill a friend. And he goes, keep reading it, kill a friend. He started getting all excited and freaked out. He was getting ready to try and kill me. And he had the Anglin brothers closing in on me. And he goes, kill a friend, kill a friend. And then I looked at him and said, kill a friend. And he's going, yeah. He's shaking his head. And I go, okay, I guess it's time for me to get out of here. You're starting to talk about killing again. So keep that in mind when you're reading things about and watching videos about the Zodiac killer. He befriended the people that he killed, and some of them were involved in some kind of deals with him where he felt like he had to kill him to make the deal go right. That's why he tells Bates had to die. And he spells it D-I-E, but it looks like P-I-E because pi has something to do with him thinking that he's a constant in the world that no one can change. He had to die. There will be more. Well, why would someone have to die if he does this for pleasure? Because he had a deal going on with, I think what it was that she had seen him kill somebody else, and he had to kill her to keep her from telling. The LA Times, this letter he sent, I just show you this just because of one reason. It says airmail. When he showed this to me in Mexico City, he was laughing about how he had mailed this from across the street from the Los Angeles Times in a mailbox that was right across the street. And he puts airmail, and he's making a joke about how are they going to fly a plane across the street in downtown Los Angeles to deliver this letter. He thought that was really funny. I've told you this before too. Paul Averly. His name was Avery, but Frank calls him Averly. See, he spells it like this. That's on here. It's a little bit hard to see, but you can see it there. Paul Averly. Now, the significance here, it's another one of his riddles and clues. Paul, with a line under it to let you know that something goes in the middle here. Now, this is what he told me, okay? And then he goes something about reading the end of it and then figuring out what goes in the middle. But what goes in the middle is Lee. So he's telling you that this middle spot and this extra word Lee, you put this in here and you have the name Lee, because Frank Lee Morris is his name. And that's a clue to who he is. This whole thing is a clue to who Frank is. I mean, who the Zodiac killer is. Now, this one, DB Cooper letter, I'm right here in Portland, and the $200,000 is for a revolution, and he's just trying to freak everybody out about this because he knew he couldn't use the money because he knew the bills were marked, because he had an inside connection with the FBI that went through Tina Mucklow, and they told him the bills were marked and don't try to spend them. So he just used them to create fear. The thing that's important about this is that when I was a little boy, he made me sign my name on a piece of paper for him before I went back to Florida, and I gave it to him. And when I came back, he showed me this letter, and he goes, what do you notice about this letter that stands out? And I go, well, it's kind of weird that everything's block letters. He goes, is everything block letters? And I started looking, and I go, well, yeah, I guess this one isn't. He goes, yeah, you know why? And I go, why? And he goes, because that's your initial. Remember you wrote your name for me? And I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah, I'm going to start putting your name on a lot of things. He was going to try and get me blamed for some of the things that he did, which is what Frank did with everybody. That's why you have so many suspects out there, because he made them. But look closely at that D. It's not a block D, and that's the way I write a D. He copied that, told me that he copied it using wax paper or something, and copied it off of where I wrote it, and then copied it onto here. I mean, in a way, it's kind of flattering that this important letter from DB Cooper actually has my initial on it. But at the same time, it's kind of sucks because I didn't have anything to do with it. I was about 16 or 17 at the time. And nobody wants to believe me. That's the other thing that sucks. But It's too bad. I was there. I lived through it. They don't like it. I can't do anything about that. Now, Frank Morris, I forgot to get you a picture of his prison picture so you could see what he looked like before facial surgery. I also can't find the other picture I have of him. The police drew up a picture of him when he killed that cab driver. And if you put it beside of this one and beside of his prison picture, you can kind of see how his face morphed into this because he had several facial surgeries. You can tell that nose has been trimmed. He had big flares to his nostrils, and that's been trimmed down. And they didn't get this size, the same size as that side. But that's all I wanted to show you in this picture. This is DB Cooper. This is the man that I met in Mexico City. In 1969, 70, 71, somewhere in there. And here's the Anglin brothers. I don't know why I put that picture there, but just because the three of them were lovers and had a sexual wackoness about killing people. And I want to show you this one more time. That's an M. There's the F. You can see it there. There's the L, which means Frank Lee Morris. And if you turn it over, it's a W for William. That's John Anglin's middle name. And if you connect these dots and put a line across here, you get an A. William Anglin. Because that was his favorite girlfriend. I hope that helps you understand some of the things that I've showed you before. That's kind of a recap. Try to put everything together in a way where you could possibly understand it a little bit better. And you know, I just don't know if anybody can't understand this. You know, it's because they don't want to. Met with a federal agent a couple of months ago. He was supposed to come back with the pictures again, but he never could do it, and told me that, you know, they just don't want to put a lot of money into this case because it's 50 years old. And I can't blame them. I know they got plenty of murders going on right now that they need to put money into and try and get them solved. But I really would like to get into San Francisco and those police departments over there, or FBI, wherever that is at, all of the different cards and letters that he wrote, because, you know, I mean, I know the solution to most of them. He told it to me. As he showed me the solution to that, what was it, 340 cipher, the one they just deciphered. I just didn't remember what it had said until I saw it deciphered. I'm like, yeah, I remember him showing me that. And he doesn't show it to you and say, hey, this is the solution to my cipher. He'll tell you it's a solution to one of his ciphers, and you don't know really which one or whatever. Unless you got them all memorized, then you could pick it. But I wasn't into that back then, and information wasn't easy to get like it was back then, because like it is now, because there was no YouTube, there was no cell phones, there were no information highways like we have now. Google didn't exist yet. And they didn't even have 911 yet. So when people would call the police, it was really a nightmare to get the cops to come out, because you had to know where you were at. They didn't have GPS, and they didn't track the phones. So if someone was trying to kill you, and you know, someone just dropped you off somewhere and you weren't sure where you're at, and you had to grab the phone and call, they wouldn't send anybody out, because you couldn't tell them the address where you were at, because you're in a phone booth, and they don't have phone booths, didn't have addresses on them. If you couldn't see a house and the name of the street, which could be way down the street to see the name, and the house may not have a number on it, then they couldn't come out. They wouldn't send anybody. So that's how Frank and the Anglin brothers got by with a whole lot of the things that they got by with, because of those details, things that many of the things we have nowadays, like 911 and bulletproof vests for cops and all that, a lot of that came from Frank and the Anglin brothers. Frank shot a cop in the back while he was writing a parking ticket. Now cops don't write parking tickets anymore, and that's part of the reason. And after that, shortly after that, they invented the bulletproof vest so that people can't just walk up behind a cop and blow him away. Oh, let's see. I think that covers everything that I wanted to tell you today. If you have any questions, maybe you could leave them in the comments, and maybe I'll do another video like this one to kind of run some things together and make it a little bit easier to understand. Y'all have a really good day, and thank you very much for watching my videos. Please like and subscribe and watch as many of them as you can. Watch more than one before you ask too many questions, because in one I will answer a question, and in another one I'll answer the same question. And you keep watching videos, you'll start catching on to a whole lot of it. Thank you, and if I can figure out how to turn this off, goodbye.